Well, welcome in to Instant Reaction, an Indianapolis Colts podcast reacting to a 31-25 Colts overtime victory in Berlin. I'm Casey Vallier, normally joined by Bill Brooks, but we have the honor to be joined by Colts senior writer JJ Stankevitz. JJ, you picked a pretty awesome one to join us here for Instant Reaction.
Yeah, I mean it's incredible. I'm sitting here in the stands at Olympic Stadium in Berlin after just an unbelievable football game, an unbelievable atmosphere. I usually don't lose my voice after doing PA, Casey, but I left it all out there today, and voice is cracking a little bit right now if you can't tell. So I mean, just incredible. The fans here were spectacular. The atmosphere here at Olympic Stadium was unlike anything I've ever experienced. It was such a remarkable day, and then obviously the day Jonathan Taylor had just only added to it. What else is there left to say, Case? How do you do this on this podcast when JT's just doing this every week, man?
Well, it's funny. Bill and I, we always laugh about it. It's like, well, I think everybody knows what we're going to talk about, so I guess we just keep talking about the same thing. And I mean, and you hit exactly where we're going to start. I want to start with Jonathan Taylor, but first, I really do want to ask you one real quick thing about
Yeah.
what was the atmosphere like for you? Because typically you do the PA here inside Lucas Oil Stadium, but in a historic venue like that, I mean, that's got to be a bucket list thing that you
Oh,
didn't even
yeah.
realize you wanted to check it off. But being able to check that off is pretty awesome.
Yeah, Case. I mean, first of all, thanks for saying that because you are right. This was like, this is a highlight for me, right? Hopefully we'll get to do a Colts playoff game this year. That'll be a highlight.
Yeah.
But this is a special one. I was here in Berlin all week hosting at our fan zone. And I got to say, like, our German fans, our international fans, our fans who traveled here from the U.S. were phenomenal. I was firing them up on third down like I usually do. And the fans were into it here. They were loud. They were engaged. It was a spectacular environment. And, credit to the city of Berlin, to Olympic Stadium for everything that they did here. It was an unbelievable day, an unbelievable event. One, again, like I said, Case, that it was only made sweeter by the Colts winning this thing in overtime.
Absolutely. Well, let's start right there. You talked about him at the top. Jonathan Taylor, his fifth game of the season now with at least 3 rushing touchdowns. He eclipsed 200-plus rushing yards for the third time in his career. This game in Berlin was his second largest rushing output with 144 rushing yards. And somehow I buried the lead because he is now the franchise all-time leader in rushing touchdowns with 66. And he does it when Edgerrin James is over in Berlin with him, which is pretty wild. But this guy, as you talked about, I mean, he just continues to amaze me out how dynamic he can be week in and week out.
Yeah, so in the post-game press conference, Case, JT was asked, like, what did you see on your 83-yard touchdown? And he kind of goes like, well, what do you mean? And Daniel Jones is sitting next to him. DJ just starts laughing because he's like, yeah, I mean, what else is there to say about this guy? Like, the way that when he sees open space and green grass and he's able to hit another gear. But the thing, Case, about JT is, so I asked him, what does it mean to you to break Edge's record? And he talked about, being mentioned with some of the greats of the franchise, making a direct reference, obviously, to Edge, but I could tell he's thinking about Lenny Moore and Marshall Faulk and Eric Dickerson and these great running backs that have played for the Colts. But then he threw it right back and he said, this is all about the team. It's all about the guys who do it with me. It's about the offensive line and, Tyler Warren blocking his butt off and wide receivers. And it means so much to him to do it, of course, but to do it with this team. And I think that's something that's really special about him. I asked Bernard Ryman, too, Case, after the game, like, what does it mean to you that that's what his reaction was? And, Bernie looked at me and he goes, yeah, I mean, that's JT. That's who he is. Bernie's quote was, he's the best running back in the NFL, even if he never acts like it. And I thought that was such a great way to sum up who Jonathan Taylor is as a player. And you could tell the Falcons had no interest in tackling him. They couldn't tackle him at the end of the game. That was a defense that was gassed. They left it all out there too, like credit to the Falcons. But when the game ended, it was time to win when the Colts are going to run the football, and that's exactly what they did.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, Jonathan Taylor right now, he leads the league in rushing yards, rushing attempts, rushing touchdowns. That's the triple crown. And I don't want to get in the MVP debate because we're at week 10 of the NFL season. But when you look at the last running back that did win that award, he did it with staggering numbers, and that is exactly what Jonathan Taylor is doing right now. You cannot overlook the impact this guy is having on just an entire team, but he is doing things at the running back position we just haven't seen in a long time. And it's pretty cool to watch him get his flowers in real time because, man, what he is doing is pretty incredible.
Yeah, the MVP debate's going to be tough because, like you mentioned, Case, running back hasn't won it since Adrian Peterson in 2012. But
Right.
the numbers are staggering, and the gravitational impact that Jonathan Taylor has on this offense is staggering. The fact that in a game where things were not going super well for the Colts passing game, a number of sacks, a number of plays that, just weren't executed to the level that I'm sure the Colts would have liked to. The fact that they can just get the ball to 28, they can get into so much stuff with Jonathan Taylor. They can run every single scheme. They can run duo. They can run gap scheme. They can run zone. They can run tosses. They can run sweep. It's anything with Jonathan Taylor in this offensive line. It allows the Colts to be able to just hand the ball off to him and say, you go win us the football game. There is not another running back in the NFL right now that's doing what he's doing. That is for sure. Whether he wins the MVP or not, I don't know. But I sure know that every single player in that locker room, all 52 other guys in that locker room, would say he is the MVP of the NFL right now.
Absolutely. Now, second place I want to talk about with the offense is Tyler Warren. I mentioned here locally on our pregame show that kind of my blueprint for success would be getting Jonathan Taylor going and Tyler Warren going because last week against Pittsburgh, I think that was kind of the reason the offense kind of fell flat a little bit, if you will.
Yep.
Was, both those guys were held in check. Tyler Warren has 8 catches for 99 yards, but if you think about the two biggest plays, you got that fourth down conversion that set up the game-tying field goal, and then in overtime, you get that 25-yard reception that already puts you in field goal range. For a rookie, I mean, this guy just plays like is such an experienced veteran. Just a huge, huge offense performance from Tyler Warren yet again today.
Case, that 4th and 2, when that ball got released, my heart kind of dropped for a second because I was like, I don't think he's got it. The fact that he made that catch in those circumstances as a rookie tight end was it, but I would say it's unbelievable, except we've just seen it from Tyler Warren.
Right.
Like if the Colts need a play in the passing game, he's come up time and time again. You're right, Case, that big passing play down there in overtime, that's the one that set up Jonathan Taylor to punch it in and win it, where the Colts kind of were able to alleviate a little bit of that pressure from the Falcons up front, and then they had the Falcons on their heels immediately. So it's a credit to the work that Tyler Warren has put in since arriving to Indianapolis back in May for rookie minicamp. He is one of the most prepared players on the team. He hustles. He's tough. He's physical. You get the ball in his hands. Guys don't want to tackle him. A guy who has been one of the main reasons, Case, why this offense is elevated to the level that it has been Tyler Warren. And I mean, the Colts absolutely do not win this game today without those two plays specifically that Tyler Warren made.
Absolutely. And one guy I really want to tip my cap to, especially early on, I thought Alec Pierce continues just to show that he can be a factor at all levels of the offense. Another really good day for Alec Pierce. 4 catches, 84 yards, and he had his first touchdown of the season. Now, we've gone about 15 minutes here, and we haven't talked about the defense, and I thought the defense today was great, JJ. They held the Falcons to 25 points. Now, that's a little higher than what the Falcons typically do, but Michael Penix Jr. completed just 42% of his passes. That's the worst mark of his NFL career. They sacked him 3 times, which ties a career high for sacks that he has had. Just 290 yards of total offense, 150 through the air, 140 on the ground. A really, really good day for that Colts defense.
I got to say, Case, as you're reading off those stats, this is where I'm at. I haven't had a chance to look at the stats yet. I'm like, 42%. And then I thought, yeah, that actually sounds about right.
Yeah.
He looked a little bit rattled by this Colts defense, by some of the stuff they were doing. He was able to hit some of those crossers to Drake London. But for the most part, the Colts had him, and Sauce Gardner almost had that interception.
Yeah.
He said after the game that he was trying to score. He thought he thought he was going to pick that and take it back, and he just needs to concentrate a little more. But you could feel the impact that Sauce had on this defense. You could feel the pass rush. Adetomiwa Adebawore had a number of great moments. JT Tuimoloau got in there and had a couple good pressures. Really important for the depth of this team to come through with DeForest Buckner out, with Kwity Paye out, with Samson Ebukam and Tyquan Lewis out. Kwity Paye had a pretty solid game, I should say. But then the guy, to me, who was the star of this game for the Colts was Zaire Franklin. The 2 plays he had in overtime, those are game-changing plays where the Colts win the toss going into OT. And then referee Clete Blakeman says, I screwed something up. We got to go back and retoss it. They lose the toss and go on defense. And Zaire, in that moment, you could just tell he was like, nah, we're not letting Atlanta do anything here. They got the little illegal contact penalty on Mekhi Blackman, but then Zaire stepped up. Number of huge plays there. And, those are the kind of plays why, Zaire Franklin was a Pro Bowler last year, right?
Right.
Those are the kind of plays why he's looked to as a team captain and a leader on this team. Coming up in that moment to be able to give the ball back to the Colts offense, knowing that if they did that case, Jonathan Taylor was probably going to go down and win him a game, and that's exactly what happened.
Now, one of the things you mentioned there at the top, Zaire Franklin had a massive day, but I haven't been able to talk to you since the big trade the Colts made acquiring Sauce Gardner, and I felt like he filled up to the billing. I think he's going to get better inside this defense, but looking at the exact, pressures or coverages on Drake London, he held London to just 2 catches for 26 yards. We saw what Drake London did today. He's a guy who's going to be able to get his yards, but against Sauce Gardner, 2 catches for 26 yards. He did have that 2-point conversion where Sauce slipped, but I thought it was a pretty good debut for Sauce in his first time. And like you said, I'm sure he wanted to have that interception back that was a pass defense.
Yeah, Case, I thought it was pretty cool after the game. Kenny and Sauce are up at the podium, and Kenny Moore said, like, Sauce came to us on day 1 of walkthrough and said, "Hey, don't slow things down for me. Like, let's go as fast as we usually go." And Sauce said, "I thought this is and I'm sure Amanda Foster wrote about it because I get on a plane to go to Berlin and the Colts trade for Sauce Gardner, and she at Colts.com did a fantastic job just like writing literally about Sauce all week."
Yep.
But Sauce was like, look, I was watching film for Browns film because that's who the Jets are playing today. He's like, I was watching Browns film, and then all of a sudden I got to flip over to Falcons film, and I got to learn this defense. And for him to come in today and like nearly get that pick 6, he said he was trying to bait Michael Penix on that. He did bait him into it. The other thing, Case, this is the first time Sauce Gardner has experienced a win all year.
Yeah.
He has not been part of a celebration for a win because he missed the Jets previous game that they did win over the Bengals with a concussion. So Sauce is not, this is literally his first win. And he was just like, man, the vibes in the locker room were incredible. I know he's going to remember this one for a while. I mean, like you said, I'm sure he wished he got the pick 6, but you could tell he fit in with his teammates. He was hyping guys up. It was really cool to see him, kind of fit in very seamlessly with this defense. And, let's hope Charvarius Ward Sr. is back for week 12, because all of a sudden you're thinking about Kenny Moore II, Charvarius Ward Sr., Sauce Gardner, Nick Cross, and Cam Bynum in the back end. That is going to be a heck of a matchup against the Chiefs in week 12.
Now, one final thing with you before we wrap up with JJ in Berlin. We got to give some love to special teams, starting with Michael Badgley. He came in, he missed that extra point to start the game off, but I felt like he locked himself in. I know he came up, I think it was maybe a foot short on the 53-yard field goal, but, with all the eyes on you, you got the whole nation watching. You have a chance to, send the game at overtime right down the middle. I thought Badgley was able to overcome that misstep early on, and he deserves a lot of credit for what he was able to do to kind of steady all of that, and he really put in a really good performance. But then also the return game today. 2 kick returns over 49-plus yards with both Amir Abdullah and Ashton Doolin. Josh Downs averaged 10.7 yards per punt return with a long of 24. It seemed like every yard was so key in this game, and the return game was able to really, really help the Colts in that, in return, being able to flip the position was very, very key in this victory for the Colts.
Well, yeah, Case, I mean, you're talking about Badgley kind of rebounding. The Colts return game rebounded from a bit of a rough start with a couple penalties early on that put the offense in some tough positions. And yeah, I mean, it was Amir Abdullah who had that big return right at the end of the fourth quarter, right? Like I'm getting that one right.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Because boy, everything kind of runs together sometimes in these games. But that return right there was huge because it gave the Colts a short field,
right,
for when they were able to go down and get that game tying field goal. That's another. There are like 7 or 8 plays in this game, Case, that if they don't get made, the Colts don't win. Obviously, it's one thing to say that in a 31-25 game, but that Amir Abdullah return right there, that was one of those plays where you're just like, that was a spark for this team. The Colts got the ball right near midfield. They were able to kind of then overcome that Daniel Jones sack on 3rd and 21 for Daniel to scramble 19 yards. That was a huge play. Just a lot of those, but yeah, absolutely special teams. Credit to Brian Mason, credit to the guys blocking, and even kickoff coverage I thought was fantastic today, Case. You saw Laquan Treadwell getting in there, Tyler Goodson, Shegu Alubi. all making plays. I didn't, the numbers in front of me, but I'm guessing Atlanta's starting field position was pretty bad compared to the Colts starting field position after those penalties being pretty good.
Well, that's really all we got here for instant reaction. JJ, I do want to mention one thing at the very end here. We do have to acknowledge the passing of former NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue, passed away at the age of 84. I mean, legendary what this guy did. He passed things over to Roger Goodell in 2006, and Goodell kind of living on that legacy from Paul Tagliabue. So all of our thoughts and prayers go to the former NFL Commissioner. But, JJ, safe travels back here. The Colts are coming home 8-2, heading into their bye week after an awesome victory in Berlin. A great week for Indianapolis, great week for the NFL. It's the first time an NFL game was played in Berlin. I'm really glad you were able to be a part of it, and the Colts come away with a 31-25 victory. JJ, safe travels back, man.
Appreciate it, Case. This is a game I will never, ever forget. So I'm glad I got to recap it a little bit here on the podcast.
Absolutely. Well, it's a 31-25 victory for the Colts in overtime, and that's going to do it for Instant Reaction. For JJ Stankevitz live in Berlin, I'm Casey Vallier in Indianapolis. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks after the Colts bye week.